每个理想都有实现的可能。4年来，小银科技以智慧金融助力1800万人逐梦前行。小银科技给理想前行的力量。
本节目由小银科技冠名播出。运营了130年的全球联合之路 United Way 是全球最大的慈善组织。在英文中 ，way 这个单词不仅有道路的意思，还有方式的意思。顾名思义，全球联合之路正是采用了联合的方式来开展慈善工作。在这个过程当中，它不仅是资源的募集者和分配者，还是一座桥梁，协调着各种利益相关方之间的对话和合作。它通过联合社区内的社会福利机构、志愿者、企业、政府机构等等力量，形成以社区为单位的社区资源网络。如此一来，减少了各个社会服务项目单打独斗时可能存在的服务对象重合、视野狭窄等问题，因此能更有效地解决当地的社会需求。如今，全球联合之路在全球41个国家和地区建立了1800多个以社区为基础的地方联合之路，开展以教育、收入、健康为主题的慈善活动，每年募集的金额能够达到50亿美元，惠及上千万有需要的人。如此庞大的社会网络是怎么样维系的呢？拥有100年历史的慈善机构，在数字化的时代又会如何转型呢？在今年的中国发展高层论坛上，我见到了全球联合之路的 CEO 布莱恩·盖勒格，让我们走进这个全球最大的慈善组织。
Okay, so as we know, United Way has a very wide social network. How to rally all those sources together?
By creating common interest, and so I was just in a conversation with somebody from the United Nations, and the United Nations is working on 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and there's so many different things you could be working on, but it really comes down to 3 things. It comes down to education and training for people. Can they create a livelihood that allows them to have food and a home and so forth, and can they have good health care? Can they have good health? And so all across our network, we say that's the agenda. And for everybody who wants to work on that agenda with government and business and other NGOs, then come together around trying to help, not just migrant children in China, but migrant children in Mexico, coming from Syria to Europe.
United Way is currently operate over 41 countries.
Yes.
Yes, we know deal with the relationship with local government is pretty hard. So what's your strategy in different areas?
So the overall strategy is the same, that we, whether it's in the United States or China or France or Mexico or India, is we want to partner with government. But we don't want to be seen as subservient to government, because government in all parts of the world is the most critical player in terms of social safety nets. But the marketplace and jobs and growth and employment is what creates financial opportunity for people. So we work with both business and government, but we work to stay independent. And then obviously we understand the laws and regulation, and we always abide by that. But we see the government as our partner, not as our boss.
Okay. So as we know, when you're trying to take this purpose into real actions, does there actually has a traditional way or the modern way to organize an NGO?
It's both right now, unfortunately, because we're 130 years old. But we grew up in an analog world where you met face to face, you had paper, you wrote people letters. That's how you interacted in a community. And now, because of digital technology and the ability to access all this information, we're having to run our traditional business, our traditional nonprofit, at the same time working to create a digital nonprofit. And when you're 100 years old, that doesn't come easy because we're not digital natives. So how do you take your work and be able to put it on a platform where people can access it on their phone? So the relationship was between United Way and the donor, the volunteer, the company. Now it's that, but it then goes flat. And so an individual then says, we want them to spread the message about us to their friends and to their coworkers, and we can't control that. And so we're spending time and money and effort in bringing in experts to be on our team and as our partners to help us build the digital model while we're still running the analog model. And at some point, we'll put them both together.
如果没有联合之路，今天的 CEO 布莱恩·盖勒格可能仅仅是美国印第安纳州的一名建筑工人。他成长于印第安纳州的一个移民家庭，他的爸爸酗酒且脾气暴躁，赚着很少的钱养活全家。他从13岁就开始打工，刷过盘子，当过建筑工。后来靠着自己的不懈努力和好心人的帮助，他成为了家里第一个上大学的孩子。大学毕业后，他申请了美国联合之路的管培生项目，录取10个人的项目，他被排到了10名开外。后来有人中途退出，他才得以被录取。他后来回忆说，如果当时美国联合之路或其他公司都不要他，他可能就回老家当建筑工了。可是谁能想到，这位替补选手在2002年的时候就当上了美国联合之路的 CEO， 又从2009年开始担任起全球联合之路的 CEO。
What actually motivated you join this organization at the first? Is there something related with your early experience?
When you're in the middle of a big family, you create a, like we call peripheral vision. Like, why is all this happening around me?
I'm trying to imagine.
Because you want to avoid conflict, and you create empathy because you see bad things happening on both sides of you. And so that made me think I want to help. And so I started studying social work. And one of the early things that I was volunteering when I was in school, in university, and I ended up at a nonprofit that helped handicapped children swim. And the first time I held like a 10-year-old boy in my hands who had cerebral palsy, so his body is broken. But when you put him down in water, he feels lighter. And so when I watched him, his reaction when I first did that, I was in. It was, this is what I want to do. And so then I found United Way, and I like the big vision of it. I like that we think about trying to make the world a better place, but we're practical. You know, I never forget the vision of that boy, and I never forget my mom. I never forget the volunteers who helped me. And so as big as you get as an organization, when I say purpose, that's what I mean. How many times can we make that happen? That's what motivated me, you know, almost 40 years ago. That's what motivates me today.
Okay, that's touching. And which area actually you care about most currently?
For me, it's migrant families and children. It's the empowerment of women. I think the world would be a lot better if more women were just given a fair opportunity to be in the leadership positions that men hold today. That takes me to caring a lot about human trafficking. So I give my money to United Way, Education, Income, and Health, and then I give more of my money and my time to girls and women's issues, to human trafficking, to the issues around migrants and immigrants.
Okay. So what's your biggest challenges in your career?
There's been 3 big things that is my biggest challenge so far. One was changing our culture of accountability, what we were just talking about, that, We are going to set the rules. You're going to behave ethically. You're going to behave consistently. We're going to care more about the people we serve than ourselves. And so the first 2 or 3 years in the job, that was the biggest challenge. And we changed our entire culture. The second was getting really clear on purpose. Why do we exist? We exist to improve people's lives. And what we do that's most valuable is we can bring companies and government and other NGOs together to serve people in need. So we had to get agreement on purpose. Then the next challenge was we historically have been a US-based organization that did work outside the US, but we weren't a global organization. We thought like Americans. We didn't think like global citizens. And so in 2009, we put our US organization and our international organization together, and we actually changed the governance model. So it was US was the big board, and then international was the operating board. We changed it, created a worldwide board, and put the US as the operating board. You hire people on your different teams in different countries from those countries. So those are the 3 challenges. Now, I spend 50% of my time as CEO working on how to make the shift to digital. How do we become a more user-friendly? That's our latest big challenge.
过去10多年以来，中国公益慈善行业得到迅猛发展。一方面，随着中国经济的发展，人们的收入在不断增加，高收入、中等收入的人群基数也在不断扩大。这意味着有能力为慈善事业捐款的人变多了。不管是几次大型天灾的募捐，还是朋友圈里常常刷屏的众筹链接，都可以明显看到，人们奉献爱心的热情越来越高涨。但前些年一系列贪污善款、网络诈捐事件，也让公众为慈善活动打上了一个问号。公众的不信任反过来也给慈善事业的开展带来了一定的阻力。这样的问题应该如何解决？中国慈善事业的明天又有什么样的挑战或是机遇呢？
So in China, I think more and more people would like to donate their money to the charities, but actually the public's credibility to those charities is declining due to some cheating and corruptions happened several years ago. So from your perspective, how can we rebuild our reputation to the public as a charities?
As a nonprofit organization, as an NGO, part of being open and transparent, because now somebody can see in social media and a blogger can talk about what you're doing or not doing, you have to police yourself. You have to be looking in your own operation, because we have millions of volunteers in United Way. We have 11,000 professionals who work for us, and so you can put in place oversight to make sure that everybody's working the right way, ethical, legal, effectively. But at some point when you've got that many people, somebody's going to do something wrong. And when you see it, you have to stop it and get rid of it. And so you have to always be thinking about, if that story were to come out in media, social media or mainstream media, would you be okay with that? And so you have to set up a system and a culture that has no tolerance for that. And like I say, it can't eliminate all of it, but you create a culture where everybody knows if you do something wrong, you're going to get thrown out, you're going to be punished by the organization. People don't do it because it becomes the culture. Sometimes, the thing about social media sometimes is a story can get going and you can't stop it. And some of it is accurate and some of it is not accurate. And I think one of the things that we all have to get accustomed to is the old style of trying to intervene in a story like that is okay, go quiet for a while and maybe it'll go away. Today, you have to engage it. Yes. And you have to, like principals, like I would have to get on social media and say, here's what's happening, not happening.
But the reality is sometimes you engage more, you explain more, people can have more questions.
There will be people who won't be happy, but over time, if you are genuinely engaging and answering questions and trying to tell your story, the public will respond to that. They'll also sense when you're not being genuine and when you're not communicating openly, when you're saying, well, I don't want to talk because it'll be perceived badly.
So how would you evaluate the development of Chinese NGO?
You know, trade was going up in GDP and so forth in these countries. You could put philanthropy on the same thing. As economies grow and become more mature, and as you know, you hear a lot about the Chinese economy moving to a consumption economy. Well, that means people are earning more disposable money. So that's the big opportunity. The challenge is developing laws and regulations, which the government's starting to do. But you can't just have wealthy Chinese driving philanthropy. You want average people also being involved in helping others. And so you have to have government regulation and infrastructure, tax incentive, and then a culture of giving, you know, starts to develop. But that's what I think is going to happen in China. I think I'm almost 100% sure of it.
走过130年的历程，全球联合之路在管理运营上发展出一套独特的经验。他把捐款人视为投资人，把解决社区问题的资助计划包装成为一种吸引公众投资的投资计划，所以清晰可见的服务成效就变得非常重要。为此，联合之路的合作机构必须加入到成效评价系统，在服务中收集到足以说明服务成效的资料，从而在社会公众面前建立起足够的公信力。在所有的行动之上，是全球联合之路的3大目标，也就是改善教育、收入和健康。这些目标之下，各方力量凝聚了起来，开展各种影响社区发展的项目。那么，作为全球最大慈善组织的 CEO， 盖勒格是怎么看待全球联合之路的发展历程的呢？在他看来，未来的慈善组织将会承担什么样的新任务呢？
So through 100 years development, I believe every NGO also build their reputations and explain their influences step by step. What's your advice for those NGOs?
Start with purpose. Start with why do you exist? Why should people care that you exist? Be very focused on how you govern yourself. That be very honest and be very transparent. Be very focused on getting results for people. That if your mission is educating young people or empowering women, make sure that you stay true to that purpose and that the way you ask people for their money or their time is transparent of how you spend it, and then tell them what result. How are children's lives better because you got involved? And then you tell stories around that, and that's what creates a sustainable enterprise and a sustainable brand. And in nonprofits, our currency, so our money is trust. If people trust you, then they'll give you money. But you can't just ask for money. That's the trust that creates the currency that any nonprofit, any size, I think has to go through those components.
There are some people that started talking about the business model with the nonprofit organizations. On one hand, we can raise more funds to support our purpose, but it also triggers some challenges. How could you balance those two?
It's a great question. My undergraduate degree is in social work. My master's is in business. Every social worker I know could use some business training. Most business leaders I know could use some social work training. Taking business practice and saying I can take those processes and embed it into that NGO and the NGO will be better, not necessarily. There are certain parts of what you do in managing an NGO where business practice makes sense. Accounting, finance, business planning, marketing strategy in some regards, but there are huge differences. When people give an NGO money, they don't get anything in return. So there is no rational capital market for nonprofit business. It's an emotional market. It's not efficient utilization of capital and internal, rate of return and so forth. You can't run it that way. You instead run it through emotional connection and how is the human spirit connected to human need, and how do you take resource and connect it to community and to people in need. And when you do that, then the resource follows and you lift. So it's a long way to say it's not one or the other, it's both.
How about the future? What's your blueprint and imagination of the nonprofit organizations?
I think it's back to basics. That when the world works well, when a community works well, is when a marketplace, jobs and economic activity creates opportunity for most everybody in the community. And nonprofits' job is to make sure that the people that need support get support to be able to participate in the economy. When the economy gets so big and complicated, and sometimes the rules are more for wealthy people and not regular average people and lower income people, then that's gotten a little out of balance. And so the future of nonprofits is not just to raise money for what we want to do, but it's to speak for those that need to be given the same opportunity. The future of nonprofits will be not what we need, but what do they need? And for business and government to start caring about them. If we think only like a business, then we'll think about how to market ourselves better, how to get more money, how to, be more efficient. And we have to do some of those things, but the future of nonprofits to be successful is, and again, digital technology and social media is a part of this, is when people again start saying, I want to be a part of United Way because they give me voice, because they let me amplify what I want to say. And that's not to create social unrest, that's to create social cohesion, to make sure that people are the center of the contract again. That's the future of nonprofits, of the best nonprofits.